The NBA is such a remarkably interesting league to watch because you have your superstars like LeBron James who garner more attention than the presidential debate, and then you have players like the ones we're going to talk about today who are amazing in their own facets of the game, yet they just don't catch the public eye, and when they do, they kind of don't really say the best things about them. Before we get into this video, guys, if you are new here, please be sure to consider hitting that subscribe button as we are on the road to 3,000 subscribers, and we are uploading every single day for the month of March. Today makes 17 days in a row if you count the last day of February. Without further ado, let's get straight into this with the first man on this list, Paul George. Paul George is the only real superstar caliber player, I guess you'd say, on this list. We will be discussing Alperen Sengun at the end of this video. I'm sure you guys can see it in the timestamps, but let me put a statistic up on the screen for you at this point. These are playoff statistics between two players, and I would just like to know which one you guys would prefer to have on your team for the playoffs. I'll give you a second to look. Okay, so obviously player 2 or player B, whatever you want to say, has the somewhat better stats. But player A is not far behind at all. I mean, identical points, more rebounds, less assists, less steals, less blocks. And then the shooting splits are somewhat similar. But player B is Jimmy Butler and player A is Paul George. Paul George is largely scrutinized for his ability or lack thereof to quote unquote perform in the playoffs. I just think the idea of the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Indiana Pacers, the Los Angeles Clippers, all of these teams have had so much bigger expectations than a team like the single-starred quote-unquote Miami Heat or the Jimmy Butler Chicago Bulls at that time. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean Paul George had a perfect postseason every single year. He definitely had some shooting stretches that were not that great in his early Oklahoma City Thunder. That's when people started kind of calling him Pandemic P. But just from appreciation standpoint, because that's what this whole video is about, Paul George has one of the most unique and smooth offensive games paired with the most tenacious perimeter game I've seen from a small forward in quite some time, which is a big reason that Kawhi Leonard and himself formed such an amazing forward tandem. When we look at the difference between Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero and then Kawhi and Paul, the big thing that separates the forward tandems is just the ability or lack thereof to play defense. Paul George is such a fun NBA player to watch. He has the ball on a string, and more often than not, if you ask an NBA player or avid viewer of the game who the most skilled forward is, a lot of the times we're hearing Paul George's name sometimes from the people who really know, but those who just watch the game casually will like to stick with the safe choices like LeBron or Kevin Durant. And they can be right, they can be entitled to their own opinion, but I am just here to appreciate Paul George and his greatness today. Next, we have Jalen Suggs, and this one is a little bit interesting because off the rip, Jalen doesn't have the greatest counting stats. This video isn't really about stats. It's just kind of about appreciating certain aspects of players' games, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video. I think a big reason as to why Jalen Suggs isn't really getting the attention that I believe he deserves is, one, he plays on the Orlando Magic, who have, yes, garnered some attention, and their media presence is excelling this season, and they're winning games, which always helps. But outside of people who actually watch the regular season or actually pay attention to Orlando basketball, it's definitely not something where you're going to see Jalen Suggs' name in the paper. And again, that's largely due to the fact that as at Gonzaga, he obviously hit one of the greatest shots in college basketball history, and he was selected 5th overall, but then he gets behind Markelle and Cole Anthony and a lot of other guards in the Orlando locker room. And we kind of have this weird case of like, is he going to be a lottery pick as great as he can? Or is he just going to fail like some guards in the lottery do? I think he's far from failure. His growth has been very linear, as a young guard should. I think guard is the hardest to transfer. He is an all-NBA style defender. He is a great three-point shooter. He's very, very quick-handed, and he plays insanely well in the passing lanes from the 7 or 8 Orlando games I've watched this season. His mentality for the entire roster is very contagious. There's never a dead ball on the ground or a loose ball on the ground without number 4 diving right on top of it. And he just fits this the young Orlando Orlando Magic so well. And he's not the focal point of the offense, but he definitely is the heart of the defense. When him and Wendell Carter Jr. on the floor together, they make for a very unique pairing because neither of them are very gifted physically, but they make up for it in effort. They make up for it in many other things. If you haven't watched the Orlando Magic, please do, and check out Jalen Suggs. The next guy I'm going to talk about, or I'm going to kind of package them together, is Lonzo Ball and Alex Caurso. Lonzo Ball has one of the most game-changing styles in recent basketball memory, and it goes without saying, the Bulls were the 1 seed when he was playing, and now they're battling mediocrity, trying to make the play-in the last couple seasons whilst he's been injured. Caruso and Lonzo share the tenacious and intelligent ability on the defensive side of the ball, in which it's really hard to get passes by them. It's really hard to move off screens with them. They're very annoying. If you guys have ever wanted to play pickup and you're running around the court and running around screens and whatnot, and there's just a guy or like a little pit bull glued to your hip, that is Lonzo Ball. That is Alex Caruso. Lonzo Ball, his ability to facilitate an offense and grow into an amazing three-point shooter is amazing. What Caruso lacks in three-point shooting, he does make up in his tenacious ability to just be a rim runner. He kind of reminds me of an undersized, power forward, if you will. Just someone like a Josh Hart, just someone who busts his ass night in and night out, someone you hate to play against, but love to play with. For sure, a phenomenal basketball player and all defensive talent, both of these guys. I'm really excited to see Lonzo get back up on the court. It's hard to call Alex Caruso anything more than a role player, but in my heart, in my mind, that's exactly what he is. He is more than a role player. Then finally, we got none other than Alperen Sengun, and we made a video on him a couple days ago, so I will be quick with this. I just need to give him some love, as always. Just a very, very unique basketball player, Turkey prospect who has been growing in the league forever, since his start, if you will. Oftentimes, I ask myself, what does this man look like if Steven Silas isn't playing him 20 minutes and taking him off the court? And the answer was a 20 and 10 guy, and he's exceeded that expectation. He's a willing passer, very explosive on offense, sneakily athletic on defense and offense. His intelligence for the game and his ability to read a floor and adjust to a defensive scheme quicker than you can fix it. He's just one step ahead, and that tends to be the theme with these international prospects. I got nothing but good things to say about him. I think the Rockets next season, once they fix some tweaks and hopefully have less injury woes, I think they'll be fun. They might make the play-in, they might not. But what do you guys think? What do you make of this video? If you made it this far, I appreciate your support as always. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Stay happy, healthy, and blessed. Peace.